Welcome to Unsure Insure with Ashley Baxter. I'm Ashley. I'm building with Jack. We help to keep freelancers in business. And I am joined today with Simon, Greg, who are collectively known as Cinemate.
Yep. Hello.
Hello. Why don't you introduce Cinemate? What is Cinemate?
Go for it.
Do you want to? So we are Scottish-based wedding filmmakers. We have been making wedding films for about 12 years now, maybe. Is that about right?
Yeah.
And we're also educators. So we have a YouTube channel, podcast. Yeah. And we love doing what we do.
That's why I asked you to come and chat to me because, firstly, I think Cinemate's really well respected in the wedding industry.
Thank you.
And
yes.
also, I thought that you would have a pretty good workflow in place when it comes to backups. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Even though we are speaking to wedding filmmakers, this is applicable to any freelancer providing a professional service to clients, whether it is footage that you shoot or client deliverables or client assets. It's your responsibility to make sure that that is safe. So, hypothetically speaking, you are shooting a wedding, let's say in Isle of Skye, the sun has set, you have shot your last frame, camera's tucked away. Can you just walk me through what steps you take to make sure that everything you've shot is safe and sound?
So for us, it starts pretty much straight after the wedding. Like I tend, depending where the wedding is, but if it's on Sky or somewhere at home, get home and start importing the footage straight away. So take the cards out of the camera, into the computer, back them up onto an SSD drive. So that's one copy as well as the camera cards. And then we back them up to a second SSD drive. So then we've got two copies plus the cards.
Yep.
And now that we've got decent internet in the office, once we get into the office, we take one of those copies and upload that to Google Drive so that we've got an online copy as well. And that means we've got online, SSD, second SSD, and it's still on the cards. But because in the summer season it gets busy, you need to then format those cards. So you lose that backup, but you've still got three there. And we also back up to another hard drive in the office, don't we?
We do, yeah. There's usually another one kicking around somewhere.
So there's like a desktop hard drive in the office, which is like 20 terabytes or whatever. And that just holds that year's weddings. So that's got that. And usually I just give Simon one of the SSDs straight away. He takes that home with him, which is mainly so that's the editing drive, but also works as an off-site backup. So he's got that at his house.
Yeah, and so when I'm editing, I'm not going to back up everything all the time, but from that working drive, if I'm working on like a wedding, say Adobe Premiere, I'll keep that session. So there's parts of it as well while I'm working that gets uploaded online as well, just for extra security.
And it means that having that active drive, which is the edit drive, and the backup in the office, if ever that edit drive broke or we lost footage, we'd have the session in the cloud that we could link up with the other drive, and you've not actually lost any progress at that point.
Yep.
Did that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more intricate than I expected, by the way. Did something happen for you to be like, we need all of these copies, or did you just want to get it right from day one?
Did something happen to us? I don't think it did.
We've not had any issues where we've lost footage or anything, but it's just, it's evolved over the years. Like that's 10 years worth of tweaking there to get to that.
I mean, obviously having a podcast, you learn from other filmmakers and photographers. And many a story has occurred where, a photographer's left their gear in their car, they've gone for a shoot, someone smashes in the window, steals their stuff. It's quite commonplace for that to happen. Or they leave their bag at the back of a church, someone pilfers it and runs away. So,
yeah, a lot of learning from others' mistakes and misfortunes, and also just the fear of what if, really.
Yeah.
Makes me sick to think about it. No, I can relate, obviously, because I work in insurance, specifically with creatives, a lot of photography, videography, customers, and so I've heard a lot of horror stories. But before we get into that, could you just like talk me through the equipment that you use to have this kind of workflow, both in terms of hardware and also any kind of online subscriptions or software that you pay for to keep everything secure?
Yeah, we keep it quite simple. So we use the SSD drives I was talking about. We tend to use the SanDisk Extreme Pro SSDs. They're fast, so it means you can edit from them, and they're quite robust. So SSD means if you drop it, should be fine.
Yeah.
There's not much risk of damage that way.
Yeah, and they're also very small,
Yeah.
which is maybe a good thing and a bad thing because you can lose them easily, or your dog could eat them.
Don't say that. Yeah, we've got a dog that you've probably heard her.
Yeah, she's kicking around here somewhere
Una.
over there, sniffing at the cables.
The hard drive in the office, we usually just buy the Western Digital desktop hard drive that you have to plug into the wall.
Yeah.
They're pretty basic, not very fancy, but it's just a big, massive backup. Is that it?
I think so.
Well,
yeah.
cards-wise, the cameras we use,
What the ProGrade?
we use ProGrade SD cards, which are as fast as you can get, and we make sure and use cameras that have dual card slots. So it means that
Yeah.
on a wedding, like while you're actually recording it, there's already redundancy there. So if one card fails, you've got another copy in the camera. So
Yeah.
that gives you an extra peace of mind on the day.
That's so smart. Like, I used to be a wedding photographer, and fortunately, nothing like that happened to me. But I never used because I used the Canon 5D Mark IV. That's dual. That's got a dual card slot. Does it?
It does it?
Does it?
It was maybe a mixture. It was maybe CF plus SD.
Yeah, I actually can't
I
remember.
it was. It was. Yeah.
There was a while where cameras just like that. They didn't have that. So a lot of freelancers, they can't afford the like super high end professional gear right off the bat. It's fairly commonplace now that all cameras have dual. But then again, not all the same types of memory cards. So, yeah.
If you have it, use it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
What about, you've not mentioned anything like the kind of names that I kept hearing when researching how to kind of manage my own backup stuff was like Arc and Backblaze. Do you use anything like that?
We don't use any of those two.
No.
But so we use Google Drive as our online backup. So the reason I didn't use Backblaze is because there was something I heard. It might have changed recently, but way back when we first were getting into that, you had to like plug in your hard drive at least once a month so that the cloud would see it and go, okay, they've still got that. They want to keep this on here. And that just seemed too tedious for me. Like I wanted to just upload it and it's there, forget about it. So Google Drive, it's not ideal because there was one time recently, a couple from, it was only like 3 years ago, came to us and said, hey, can we buy all the raw footage now? And technically we only keep it for a year, but we still had the footage. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. But we were between offices and the hard drive that it was stored on was in storage. And I was like, oh, do I have to go and dig that out of storage and get it? It's like, no, I can just pull it down from the cloud. But trying to get all the raw footage, which is like 800 gigabytes of stuff, wasn't as easy as I thought from Google, because the way it downloads, it splits everything into separate zip files. So once you downloaded it, you had to then rebuild this folder structure.
Yeah.
And it was just a bit annoying. So eventually I gave up and just got the hard drive out of storage. So it's not ideal
It's good to know it's there, though.
retrieve the footage, but it is there and you can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that it often takes something devastating to happen to you for you to kind of take a step back and review everything that's like. In my experience working in insurance, people often have to have that bad thing happen to them before they do things differently going forward, and kind of review their own workflow for gaps. And that's certainly what happened to me. I went on holiday to Geneva. Have you ever been to Geneva?
Never been, no.
No.
It looks lovely though.
It would have been lovely if it wasn't in January, and like I had got like a really nice hotel because it was my birthday. And I splashed a bit of cash getting a nice hotel with like a balcony view of, well, nothing because it was just low cloud. But yeah, I'll need
I'm
to go
sure
back.
there was a nice mountain
There was a
range behind
nice
that.
mountain view behind that. But I had just shot a wedding before I'd left and then went on this holiday. And the first day that I was in Geneva, I got a phone call saying, your house has been broken into and like totally ransacked. Which is a really awful thing to experience, especially when you're abroad and you can't walk through your own home and see what they've helped themselves to. So I had a friend that was kind of dealing with the aftermath, and I'd said to him, go into my home office and please tell me that there's a camera bag on the floor. Who doesn't keep their camera bag on a floor?
Of course. All mine are over there as well, as we speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he said, there's no bag. Now, the problem was, what was in that bag was my card holder with all of my SD cards on it with the wedding that I just shot.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Like
very good.
yourselves, though, I would always I would upload them to my computer, so I'd have like a local copy. But guess where I kept my computer? In the bag.
your bag?
Yeah. And then lastly, I would also have an off-site hard copy on a hard drive. Guess where I would keep the hard drives?
Next to the bag.
Next to the bag. They were all in the same room. Now, this isn't actually as bad as it sounds because I had my laptop with me in Geneva because I needed to do a little bit of work.
I was gonna say, you without a laptop,
Yeah, I
even
always
on
have my
holiday
laptop.
is like
Exactly, I
something
know.
unheard of.
So it wasn't
done.
as disastrous, and my hard drives, my friend had a look for them and he found them. But that one episode made me realise how fragile
Yeah.
everything is, because one event, which is a naughty person breaking into my house, could have potentially led to 3 separate items with those wedding photos being taken away. So for me, I learned a couple of lessons. One is that you should always keep your copies in different locations.
Yep.
So I think you mentioned that, like, you have one at home, and then you have like
Yeah.
copies in here or in storage or whatever. But they're in different locations, which is something that I now do. And also an important thing as well is, like, it doesn't matter how tired you are after shooting a wedding or just after a long day of work. For me, like, work does not finish until they are also in the cloud. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was, really frightening experience, which could have been a lot worse than it actually was.
Yeah. I mean,
as
soon as we finish a wedding, we don't even wait till we get home sometimes.
No.
Like, if there's a 2-hour drive to get from the East Coast back to our office, I'll set up an office in the car. Simon's driving and I'm importing the footage
Yep.
while driving, which means that when we get back, we can hit upload and then go to bed knowing that it's uploading.
Oh, it must be nice having a business with two people in it.
Yeah, if you're a solo filmmaker, photographer, don't
Yeah,
drive and edit at
sorry.
the same time.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, don't do that. So we've got some questions that were submitted on Instagram.
Ooh, exciting.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just going to read them to you and
not
get
prepped.
your take on it. The first one is, what is the cost? And we're going to answer that in 2 parts. You're going to answer it in terms of what you've invested into your setup.
Right.
And then I'm going to talk about the cost of not investing in that kind of setup. So yeah, what is the cost of getting all of your backups in order?
Well, it's not cheap.
No.
Do we have the exact number?
Because
Probably not.
Because we're constantly adding to it, there's no definitive number, but those SSDs that I talk about, they're like £100 a pop, and
Yep.
we're buying at least a pair of them, so there's 2 at a time.
For each wedding.
Usually for almost every wedding. We'd get to the point where we've got loads of them now that once we've got a wedding fully completed and delivered, and it's maybe past the year point after the wedding, we can then clear them off the SSD drives
Yeah.
and just have this sort of long-term backup and just start rotating them now.
Yep.
But yeah, essentially it's like almost a couple £100 for them straight up, and Google Drive is quite expensive. So to be able to upload everything to there, I think you have to have like 5 users technically. So you're paying for 5 users, which gets you unlimited uploads. And we need that because we've got terabytes on there now. I think that's about £60 a month.
Whoa.
So it's not cheap.
So, yeah.
I mean, something like Backblaze might be cheaper, especially if you're like a solo photographer. But we have, at one point we did have about 3 or 4 users on Google Drive anyway. So I thought, why not just bump it to the 5? Gets us unlimited uploads. So it's not cheap, but
it's certainly not.
Gives you that bit of peace of mind.
So we get a lot of customers coming to us with issues where their hard drive's taken a knock, or if they are a photographer, videographer, filmmaker.
That's right.
Their SD card is unreadable. And there's a really cool feature if you arrange your contents insurance through with Jack, where if that item has suffered accidental damage, the insurer will pay for data recovery costs. Now, let me tell you, do you know how expensive data reconstitution is?
To be honest, I fear to even think about it.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
We've only ever had like one file on a card, not wrap. And it's a nightmare because you just almost can't wrap it then and get it to work. We've never had a full card fail, so we've not had to look into it. But I'm dreading to think what it could be.
So
Hundreds.
Thousands. Like our cheapest claim with that has been about £1,200, and then the more expensive ones have been between £4,000 to £5,000. And there's no guarantee that they can actually recover the data. I would say, like in our experience, it's been like 50-50. So you might end up having to have a really awkward conversation with a client. And we had one customer, this story's on our website, so we do have consent to share it. We had one customer, I can't remember if they were a photographer or a filmmaker. I think they were a video, and they were on a shoot on location. Hard drive took a knock, and all of the footage that they'd shot was now unreadable. So took it to the data recovery company. That was one of the more expensive claims. I think that one was close to $5,000, and they couldn't recover anything from it. So this is what I always tell my customers, is that you can be the best at your job. You can be the best illustrator, best designer, best photographer, but there will be things that happen that are outside of your control. And you also have no control over how your client is going to respond in a situation like that, because there will be some clients that go, right, this is really unfortunate, but that's life, we'll figure it out. Or you might get a client, like in this case, where they said, well, we've just spent a lot of money hiring models, renting a location, paying everybody's travel, accommodation costs, and we have nothing to show for it, thanks to you. So we expect you to cover the cost of that. So that one situation ended up costing £9,000, which fortunately the insurance covered it all. But you can see the cost of not backing up your work, not doing things. And to be fair, like, this is no criticism to that freelancer, because they had just finished the shoot. It was the most unfortunate timing ever. But that story does give you an indication about the cost of not having copies.
Yeah.
Not backing up work.
That story alone is enough to make you not want to do this job.
Just
unless you have
shiver
those
down your spine.
Yeah, honestly.
Totally. No, but that's do the job. That's why we're here. So, next question. How long should we keep client data on file?
Oh man, I love this. I love this question, because there's a few angles to it. There's one, how long you say you're going to do it, and how long you actually do it. We have a contract, as all freelance creatives should do. Please get your contracts. Please. In our contract, we specify a year. We will keep your raw footage and we'll keep your films safe for a year. Now, that's just to cover us and just to set expectations with the client. However, what we actually do is we might not keep the raw footage because, like Greg talked about earlier, this is hundreds of gigabytes worth of storage. That's very pricey. But we do keep all their films for as long as we can, for as long as our backup drives will work. And there has been an incident where a couple have come to us like 10 years down the line and going, I know this is a bit of a, a bit of an ask, but do you have the films because I've misplaced them or whatever? And even 10 years ago, and when the client came to us, we weren't actually sure, but we actually did still have that footage, and we were heroes.
Yeah, it just adds
and
to the customer experience. It makes you seem like you're going way above and beyond when you can do that.
Yeah.
When they're like, oh, I know it's a big ask, but do you have it 10 years later? Like, yeah. We don't have to, but we do. It just makes you look so good with the customer.
Yeah.
I really
Lovely.
like that from like an insurance perspective, just being like legally, you only have to, have it for a year, and they've acknowledged that when they've signed the contract and everything. So that's great. But you're right. It's about going above and beyond and making somebody really happy, because imagine how devastating it would be if you'd moved house and misplaced your video, your film or whatever. And you don't want to lose that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
Cinemate heroes.
I don't know if there's any industry standard on how long you keep it, or
Yeah,
if there's any legal, it should be this amount of time, but we chose to keep it for a year because it sets that expectation. It's achievable for us, and it's manageable.
Yeah.
So somebody did ask about like GDPR, and I looked into it, and I think they say something like you just have to kind of assess your own, your needs, your customers' needs, and you make a decision about how long you're going to keep a hold of something for.
Right.
Obviously, if they did come forward for whatever reason and say, I want you to delete everything, you have to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just like applying a bit of common sense to what industry you're in. And
I mean, I think I can see you've lost your thought, but I can assume that our clients would only prefer for us to have a copy in storage, because everyone moves house, everyone has a dog, everyone has kids, things get lost, things get broken, ruined. Like from their end, it's kind of like
it's their offsite backup.
It's their insurance. We're their insurance, which is funny.
I did remember what I was going to say.
Oh, thank goodness.
I hate it when that happens. And I've forgotten it again.
Oh, bloody hell.
If you have started freelancing and you don't have a contract, so you've already got projects underway and you haven't actually said to your clients how long you will keep a hold of things, in that case, what I would do and what I have done in the past is just go back to clients and say, I'm going to be removing things from, wherever it is you've stored it, Dropbox or wherever. Make sure that you are downloading it and you have a copy, because it's going to be your responsibility once I remove it from here, and you're giving them a month, 2 months notice.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable too. Just thought I'd throw that out there in case people are listening going, I haven't put that in my contract yet. So put it in your contract, but if you haven't done it, communicate with your clients when you're going to be deleting things, so that they have plenty of notice. Communication is key in all areas of life. Do you back up to, a server? It's Google Drive that you use, you've talked about.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so that's sort of our server-ish system. But we've looked at hardware servers like the Drobo, which is like a NAS system, where it's like you have 5 high drives plugged in, and it splits all your footage amongst all of them, and one of them's like redundancy. But even saying that, I still don't fully understand it. So it was almost too confusing for us, that it made it more scary, because I didn't fully understand what was happening. So I prefer just having the way we've got it, where it's at least 3 copies on hard drives and online. So yeah, I just didn't understand NAS drives enough to have faith in them.
And that was actually like one of the other questions, and so I think that's actually a good answer. Like, if it's so complicated, you don't have to overcomplicate things. Like, keep it simple, because you're still covering all bases with your hard drives, with your online copy, your local copies.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. I suppose the only difference would be the price, because I know some of these systems you can hold like, terabytes,
True.
multiple terabytes of data. For the price comparison, you might want to look into that. But
It's a very good point, Simon.
thank you, Ashley.
So that's all of the questions from Instagram. Thank you so much for your time. I would love for anybody listening, which may be a total of about 20 people, if that, to come and
Or
check
20,000.
out an insurance show. Come on. We're realistic here. Where can people find you if they're going to check you out after this?
I'll do it.
Go for it.
People can find us on online at cinematefilms.co.uk. We are on Instagram and Facebook at /cinematefilms. And we also have a podcast if you're a wedding creative, photographers, filmmaker, called Perspective, a podcast for wedding creatives. And on the podcast we talk to individuals. You've had you
Talking about
talking on the
not
podcast
being a
usually.
wedding photographer anymore.
Yes, because it's a stressful job, and not everyone can hack it.
No, clearly not. I much prefer insurance.
Come and join us there.
Perfect. And then you can, of course, find With Jack, withjack.co.uk. See you next time.